and we're now just waiting for a guy to turn up because we are going to be heading off into the desert to reach a lodge. It's not on the road here, so we need to find where to actually leave the road to be able to head to the lodge, which is going to be a bit of an adventure.
Hey everyone, we're Hannah and Jonny. For the past 3 years, we've been exploring in our self-built camper van. After loving life on the road, we realised it was time to find a place that feels like home, a perfect base for our adventures. With new adventures on the horizon, we're excited to see where this next chapter takes us. Join us each week as we continue to find new adventures.
Good morning everybody from Azraq. We are actually leaving Azraq this morning. We've all packed up, all ready to go. We're about to put everything in the vehicle and then we're heading to a place called Burqu, which is about 2 hours east of here, and we're actually going to be going on safari. So when we get there we'll tell you more about that, but now we just need to jump in the car and get going. Slight correction on that, the safari isn't actually 2 hours away. We're actually just driving 13 kilometers down the road to go do the safari first, and then we'll be heading to a local family's home to have lunch like we kind of did in the last episode, and then we'll be heading the 2 hours east to Burqu.
So we've just been exploring the visitor centre and learning all about the reserve, and it's actually one of the first nature reserves in Jordan. And we're now just going to be getting onto our vehicle, a safari vehicle, and we're going to be exploring the reserve. So we've just seen the oryx, and there's a herd of them just over there, and we've just been talking about how they live here. So they live for 20 years and they live in like smaller groups. So there's about 120 of them I think in this reserve, but they only stay in the smaller groups, and there's a few younger ones in that particular group, and the males were fighting, which was quite cool to see.
We've also been told that there is wolves in the reserve here, and the wolves have been here from the very beginning of the reserve before there was fences to enclose the reserve. Obviously they're completely wild, and there is also a striped hyena here. They're not quite sure how many there is, but they've seen one, and yeah, we didn't know there were striped hyenas until we came to Jordan, but that's really cool. And there's also snakes here, and there's 200 different types of birds as well.
Some wild donkeys, and it's actually 3 males, and there's actually quite a few more donkeys here in the reserve, but the males, they actually fight each other, and we learnt that they will probably fight each other to the death, and it means that only one will survive. So out of those 3, 2 of them will die, which is quite sad.
We've just finished our safari here at the Shaumari Wildlife Reserve. It's really interesting seeing what they're doing with the oryx here, because the Arabian Oryx have gone extinct, and they're now trying to reintegrate some of the oryx, or at least bring them back into a reserve so they can have that as part of their history. And it's incredibly hot today. It's going to be about 45 degrees, so we're just making our way back now to our vehicle, and we're going to head and go get some lunch. We've just arrived at the house of a Druze family, which is another minority group here in Jordan. We're going to be here for lunch. We're going to learn all about their culture and what makes them different from other minority groups in the country, and we're really excited, and the food is usually going to be very good.
إذا ممكن تحكي لنا بس هيك عن مين الدروز؟ شو قصة الدروز؟ كيف اجيتوا هون؟ يعني هيك قصة تحكي لنا اياها.
احنا مش اجينا لهون، اساسا موجودين.
تمام.
قبل التقسيمات العربية قبل السايتس وقبل هاي المنطقة كانت.
We've finished having lunch and we've left the house of the Druze family. Fascinating conversations about their culture and where they've come from, and being, I believe, one of the original founding groups of Islam, and how they respect women, and about how they kind of kept their culture kind of separate from the rest of Islam and Muslims by only allowing their daughters to marry within their community, so they only become a wife of one man, wife of one man. And yeah, really respecting their women and having really good morals and viewpoints. And now we've come to the original Druze village, and we'll have a little look around. To my left, or to behind me here, is what is modern day Syria, and over here is Iraq, and this direction is Saudi Arabia. And the Druze used to live in the mountains over in Syria, and they would travel 50 kilometers here for the winter. There used to be a big river that used to run through here, and they were rebelling against the French, so they used to come to the fort that we went to yesterday in town to seek shelter. And eventually, when the borders of Syria, Jordan, Saudi Arabia and Iraq were drawn, the Druze came and settled here, and this is the very first village for the Druze in Jordan, which is absolutely incredible. And it was an incredible location to be because it's high up, you could see for miles around, you could see when your enemies were coming, and also, as I said, the river there provided lots of fresh water. We've just driven about 10 minutes down the road from where we were at the village to what is thought to believe an old Ottoman site. They've got like these rocks all stacked up here, and they've found archaeological evidence that there used to be an Ottoman settlement here. So for example, guns, knives, I think they said gold and various different things. It's very difficult now to see where any of that would have been, and it's very dry and barren here, but it would have been a really great location because once again they would have had lots of water flowing all through here, and it's really hard to imagine that now because it's completely dry, but it would have been a very lush and bountiful place to live in. So one of the questions we've had on this trip is about the volcano that used to be here, because there's so much basalt surrounding the landscape. You can see all this volcanic rock just laying in front of us, and we were wondering why it just stops just over here. And what would have happened is this would have been a huge lake back in the day. So where we were in the wetlands yesterday is the deepest part of what that lake would have been, and that's why there's water surviving there. And the volcano lava would have got to the edge of the lake just here and obviously cooled, and then the water would have been there. So it's fascinating. You can see how big this lava field would have been. We have also been told to be very careful, especially because I'm wearing sandals right now, treading around the rocks, because this is perfect habitat for scorpions, and apparently there's some very dangerous ones living around here, and we'll probably see some in the coming days as we carry on our adventures. So we have driven 2 hours into the northeastern part of Jordan, and we have just stopped on the side of the road because we are heading to the Burqu Eco Lodge, which is run by the same conservation organisation that we've been staying at for the last 2 nights, so the Royal Society of Conservation and Nature here in Jordan. And we're now just waiting for a guy to turn up because we are going to be heading off into the desert to reach the lodge. It's not on the road here, so we need to find where to actually leave the road to be able to head to the lodge, which is going to be a bit of an adventure. And the sun is going to be setting in the next hour or so, and it's still very warm but super peaceful here. So we're really excited for the next part of our adventure. Okay, so we have just arrived at the Burqu Lodge. The race through the desert was absolutely incredible. It felt like we were in a Mad Max movie. It was about 17 or 20 kilometers into the desert, and we have now arrived on the outskirts of the reserve here, which is part of a 300,000 square kilometer reserve, I think they said, which extends into Syria, into Iraq, and it's absolutely a beautiful place. Traveling to the lodge here, it's like an oasis in the middle of the desert. We've just gone to our room and it's absolutely beautiful. I'll show you that probably in tomorrow's episode, but we're about to head now to a very old castle that was on the trade route, protecting the caravans, and it's by a water source as well, so obviously a perfect place to build a caravan. For the last couple of days we've been going to castles and locations where we've talked about there used to be bodies of water and they've all been dried up, and we've now finally made it to the castle here in the desert with this beautiful big lake, the sun setting behind us. You can see why they built the castle here, because it's a perfect place to protect the caravan routes and actually have drinking water, a place to cool down, and this can sustain life even in the middle of this very hot, dry, arid desert. As always guys, we're going to write about all of the destinations and locations we've visited here in Jordan, so don't forget to check out our website. But we're going to leave this episode here for today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow for a new episode.